here today. My name is Anthony Maricini. I am the Chief of Police of the Harrison Police Department. It is with a very saddened heart that I make the following statement. The Harrison Police Department is currently investigating what appears to be a double murder-suicide that occurred Saturday, February 21st at a residential home at 1 Adelphi Avenue. 52-year-old Glenn Hockman was found dead in the garage with a single gunshot wound to his head. 17-year-old Alyssa Hockman and 13-year-old Deanna Hockman were found dead in their own beds, each with a single gunshot wound to their head. Additionally, 3 dogs were found dead with gunshot wounds in the garage. The wife of Mr. Hockman, 50-year-old Anne Marie Hockman, and eldest daughter, 22-year-old Samantha Hockman, were at a pre-planned trip to Mohegan Sun when the killings occurred. Saturday afternoon, prior to the bodies being discovered, Mrs. Hockman and Alyssa's boyfriend were unable to contact anyone at the residence. Mrs. Hockman asked Alyssa's boyfriend to check the house, giving him the passcode to the garage, and he entered the garage. Once entering the residence at approximately 3:36 p.m., Alyssa's boyfriend discovered Mr. Hockman's dead body within the garage. Alyssa's boyfriend called 911. Just prior to that call, the Harrison Police Department received a 911 call from a female friend of Miss Hockman, with whom she was traveling with, reporting a suspicious incident at the Adelphi Avenue residence. On Friday, February 20th, at approximately 9 a.m., Mrs. Hockman came to Harrison Police Department to report that she and her husband had a verbal dispute the day before over an $80 cell phone bill. Mrs. Hockman did not report any threats of physical violence and did not want the matter pursued. Additionally, Mrs. Hockman reported that she only wanted to document this incident. According to Mrs. Hockman, there were no prior domestic incident reports or history of physical violence. During the course of the murder-suicide investigation and interviews with people who knew Mr. Hockman personally and professionally, there was no prior indication that Mr. Hockman would have committed this heinous act. The investigation also revealed that in mid-January 2015, Mrs. Hockman and Mr. Hockman discussed the possibility of separating due to marital issues. Harrison Police Department investigators discovered a suicide note at the residence indicating that the killings were premeditated. Also recovered at the scene was a .40 caliber Glock handgun that was found in the hand of Mr. Hockman. The Glock was owned by Mr. Hockman and believed to be used in the killings. The Westchester County Medical Examiner's Office responded and removed the bodies from the residence. Preliminary autopsy results revealed the single gunshot wounds to Alyssa and Deanna were fatal, and there were no signs of a struggle, indicating that they were killed in their sleep. At this time, the investigation is still ongoing. Are there any questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about the report? It seems unusual to report a verbal argument, and there must have been some concern there.
We believe that she made that report on the advice of a friend, that they were considering separation and she wanted to document the incident.
Does the suicide note indicate a motive for this crime?
We believe it indicates a motive, but I'm not prepared to comment on it at this time.
Would you say, Chief, that their marital strife, if it existed, led to Mr. Hockman doing what he did?
I could probably say that it could be a factor in the incident.
Thank you.
Does it appear, Chief, that the girls were killed in their sleep?
Yes, as I said, it appears that from the crime scene and from the indications from the medical examiner's report that the girls were killed in their sleep and that there was no struggle.
Chief, does that mean it was?
Chief, what time would that have been?
As far as you know, the marital problems, I mean, I know you said it could be a factor. From what your interviews, I mean, had there been problems building for a while, or?
I think right now that that's a personal item that I'm unable to discuss.
Chief, if the girls were killed in their sleep, does that mean it happened the overnight before?
We believe that the killings were sometime after 2 a.m. Saturday morning.
So he was in the house for a while before he killed himself?
Well, we're unsure of that.
Do you have a time of death for him?
I do not have time of death for any of the people that are deceased.
But the 2 a.m. is with just the girls, or the girls and Mr.
We
Hoffman?
believe that the 2 a.m., after 2 a.m., the crime was committed.
Did he have any known health problems?
No known health problems, no known psychiatric problems. The people that we have spoken to did not foresee this action coming.
Did Mrs. Hoffman indicate any concern before she left for her trip? Or even son, was she concerned about losing the girls? I mean, obviously, not enough to, you know.
No concern. She came in to make the domestic incident report, and later that morning or afternoon, left on her trip.
Any indication of alcohol or drug use?
None at all.
Do you
He
know,
hadn't been drinking at all?
Not that we have any indication.
do you know whether he killed the family pets first and then the daughters, or what the sequence of events was?
We don't know that for sure, but we can surmise that most likely the girls were killed first, or else I would have to believe they would have been awakened.
Can you give us any idea why he killed the dogs?
I have no
Did he
idea.
say
I'm
anything?
sorry that I don't
Yeah.
know.
How
No
old
indication.
were the dogs, Chief?
I do not know that.
Does it appear, I mean, it sounds like you're describing a man that just snapped. Is that what you guys are working with?
There is nothing right now that has indicated that type of behavior.
And I know you don't want to get into specifics, but in the suicide note, was there any mention of their marital issues?
I wouldn't comment on that at this time.
Did the wife say whether the event was a complete surprise to her?
The wife was shocked at the event.
And as on the subject of being shocked, you seem to be yourself to be grappling on how to explain or deal with this. This seems like we're all here to explain the inexplicable.
I'm not sure that anybody can even understand how a person kills his children. It's something that's not comprehensible to me.
Other than the argument over the bill, is there any trail of financial difficulties, mortgage, mispayments, any of that sort of thing?
Right now, it appears that their finances are in order.
Chief, I've been saying all morning that Harrison is the very definition of a close-knit community. Many of us who lived here, grew up here, stayed here, how everyone's looking to you, to the mayor, to kind of help make sense of all this. How do you do that? How do you help this community through this? I mean, we shine during these times, but this is a bad one. This is a tough one.
This is a difficult struggle for the family, for the police officers that were on the scene, for the community, and as always, the Harrison community will rise and be there to stand behind the family and the people that are in need.
What was it about this verbal dispute that the friend thought it would be a good idea to document? I mean, arguing over a cell phone,
Well,
we've all had arguments like that.
it seems that there was talk of separation.
Yeah.
Maybe this was just going along those lines.
Was it a particularly, what's the word, verbally, I don't know how to say this, verbally abusive argument?
Not that we have an indication of.
Did you know him personally, and if so, can you describe him?
I didn't know him personally. I knew him seeing him through the community, and through other avenues of work.
Is there any other information from the autopsy that you're hoping to get?
There is additional information that we are hoping to get from the autopsy. Naturally, we'll be waiting for toxicology results. In addition to, there are special testings that we will do to confirm whether or not there is gunpowder residue on Mr. Hockman's hands.
Was the suicide note, was it a lengthy note, a short note? Did you give us an indication?
The suicide note was, I think, 5 or 6 pages, but the primary note was 1 page with then instructions on what Mrs. Hockman needed to do to get things in order for the family.
How old was the boy, Alyssa's boyfriend?
I don't have his age, but I believe he's a young man of high school age. I don't have that.
Does he go to Harrison High School with her?
That information I do not have.
So
One thing I want to clarify, you mentioned about the 911 call first by the boyfriend. You mentioned the second 911 call from the car. That this gun in the car, is that correct?
Well, it was the original 911 call came in from a woman that was riding with Mrs. Hockman in the car.
That was the original?
That was the original. Our understanding of it was that she was overhearing Mrs. Hockman was talking with Alyssa's boyfriend. She was overhearing that, and she called 911.
And then the boyfriend subsequently?
And then subsequently the boyfriend.
So were they on their way back from Mohegan?
They were on their way back within the town limits.
They were already alarmed.
Yes,
So his call was right after her call, basically?
correct.
Chief, you mentioned the letter indicates this was premeditated. Did he give any sense at all why the girls?
He did, but I'm not able to comment on it at this time.
Was a letter, was a letter addressed to Mrs. Hockman?
It was.
Did he express regret at the third daughter not being there so he could kill her too?
Not at all, no.
So, Chief, your theory is he killed the girls, killed himself on the pets. And in his suicide note, he offered his wife advice on what to do next.
That's correct.
And what was that advice possibly could be? Can you share that?
Unfortunately, I cannot share that at this time.
Did he indicate how long he'd been planning this?
No, he did not.
Did he mention that his plan had to do with them leaving for Mohegan Sun and
He did not.
Any issues with his police background in White Plains?
Conversations with White Plains officials have indicated that there were no issues in his background and no indications that this could possibly happen.
So the boyfriend found Hockman's body, but he didn't find any of the other victims. He called 911 before that would happen, right?
That's correct. He left the house immediately and called 911.
And then it was officials who found the other 2 bodies?
Yes.
Police officers?
Police officers responding.
2?
Checked the house and found the bodies. I believe there were 3 police officers that responded to this.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else?
Is there anything the mayor wants to say perhaps about, is there, I don't know, counseling?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Or-
Excuse me, there is counseling going on at the high school.
Yeah.
I'm sure at Wynwood School as well. We're going to come together as a community, as the chief says, we've done it in the past. We've got a great, close-knit community here who will get through this.
There's a lot of people, you know, that don't go to high school. I mean, is there any specific actions the town is taking?
Actually, we're working with the Interfaith Council right now to put together a prayer group and session that will be announced shortly.
Mayor, did you personally know the family?
Yes, I do.
Has something like this ever happened before in Harrison?
Not to my knowledge.
Can you just reflect on your own opinions of the family?
Well, I've known the family for many years. My previous job in town, I've known the girls. And great family, great bunch of people, really involved in the community.
How would you characterize what this means to this community?
This is a tough one. This is one that we're going to have to deal with for a while. And hopefully, as I said, not hopefully, but we will come together and we'll get through this.
Mayor, when you say really involved with the community, what kinds of things are they?
Ambulance Corps, Girl Scouts, things of that nature.
Fire department too, right?
Fire department.
Chief, I was just wondering, the fact that he would kill 2 of his daughters, obviously his wife and the older daughter, did he indicate any spite at all? Like, that seems very odd that he would half the family and not, as almost as if he was obviously trying to send a message, but an extra level of spite in his message? Is suicide note?
Nothing that I could comment on, but I don't really believe that there was much spite in the message.
Chief, was he in counseling or taking any kind of medication?
No counseling that we're aware of, and no medication that we're aware of that would have altered his state of mind.
Chief, if not spite, how would you characterize the tone of that letter? Despair, hopelessness?
It's difficult for me to comprehend the action, so it's difficult for me to make that assessment. I really couldn't say.
But not
Chief,
spiteful.
is it your belief that the letter was written after he killed the two girls or before?
It's unknown, but he did indicate in the letter that the two girls were taken away.
Chief, if you have a model police officer or mayor, a person that you've known for a long, long time, who had no counseling and no signs or any indication of a horror such as this, how do you move forward in looking at your other officers and your other people in town for whatever warning signs there might be to prevent something like this from ever happening again?
It's difficult to say, especially if you're unaware of circumstances, but I believe it's up to coworkers, family members, to come forward if there's any issues and to try to get their loved ones help if they believe that there is a need of it. There are fortunately many programs out there where we're able to get people help. Sometimes it's unfortunate that we are unable to get people help if they don't want it done.
Was he apologetic in the letter?
It's difficult for me to say.
Are you going to release the letter at some point in time after your investigation?
I'm not sure that that's appropriate, and I think the family would have to be involved if that was going to happen.
Thank you.
Chief, was there any kind of deadline, impending deadline, like a divorce filing, separation paper filing, or anything that could have been a trigger like that?
Nothing that we found, no deadline or anything to that effect. There was nothing that was a overt event that the family saw that triggered this.
Had any papers been filed at all related to separation or divorce?
Not that I'm aware of.
Chief, can you tell us how he signed the note?
The note was typed.
No signature?
No.
Will you be releasing the the domestic incident report?
Not at this time. It's part of the investigation.
And to be clear, when you say typed, typed or printed out from a...
Computer printed.
Was it single spaced or double?
I don't recall.
And Chief, I apologize if someone asked this already, I can't hear back here. Was there any indication of any financial problems whatsoever? I know he was trying to apply for disability retirement. Did that actually go through? Was he struggling at all?
There's no indication right now of financial issues.
You're saying that it was typed. Has anyone checked the computer to see what time that file was
We
was
are in the
saved?
process of evaluating computer files as the investigation proceeds.
Chief, was there any indication of any type of confession in that suicide note regarding his relationship with his daughters?
Nothing like that, no.
You know, your job is to find explanations for things, and I'm wondering what this does to your faith in that process when there is no explanation. I mean, how do you deal with it?
You know, it's difficult, especially when you see two young girls. Their life's been ripped away, so brutally murdered. You can't get any rationale for that. I can't believe that this man took his daughter's life. Even initially at the scene, we looked for other explanations, possibly because the act is just so incredibly bad. But unfortunately, I haven't come up with any other explanations.
Chief, were there any other weapons found at the home?
Only the handgun.
Was it a service gun?
No. It was a gun that he had purchased. I'm sorry.
He had a permit for the gun?
We're evaluating that now. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.